to record it this time. And share content, share files, share application. What am I doing? Entire screen. All right, so hopefully that should work. Oh, that's weird. See that? Okay. So just as a quick recap, last week I didn't actually manage to finish all of the content. There's quite a bit of content there. And so before we actually get to the computer lab today and talk about, what we're meant to talk about in terms of regression analysis and how to use an Excel spreadsheet to do your assignment, I thought I'd quickly try to catch you up a little bit first. Now, I'm going to have to use the computer, obviously, because it's recording the computer screen, but I would probably make notes by hand. All right, so last week we talked about expected values and variances, but what I didn't talk to you about were the properties of expected values and the variance properties. We did some calculations that, can you guys see that back there? Can you see it? I'm moving over a little bit more. We did some calculations and I explained that it was a long way of doing it. There is a much faster way of doing things. And the faster way of doing things is just to know the properties and rules. For example, what is the expected value of a constant? Well, as it turns out, the expected value of a constant is just a constant. For example, the expected value of the number, let's say 6, is just 6. So the way you can think about it is like this. Imagine you have a 6-sided dice, and on this dice was only one number, and it was just the number 6. Now, if I rolled it behind my back, what would you expect to come up? You would expect the number 6 to come up because it's the only possible outcome. The expected value or the average of one number, constant, is always just that one number. Now, the second rule that we can talk about is if you ever see a number, a constant, multiplied by a random variable like x, what we can do is we can take out the constant. In other words, if this a was a number, we could take it outside of the bracket and multiply it by the expected value x. So for example, if I had, say, the expected value of 3x, that's the same thing as 3 times the expected value of x. So we take the number outside of the bracket. The last rule that we need to find is what happens when we see a plus or minus within the expected value bracket. So if you see a plus within an expected value bracket, you can split them up. For example, this could be the expected value of AX plus the expected value of B. Now, this is actually very handy for us, right? In both economics and finance. In economics, you might be, by the way, AX plus B is a linear function. It's like MX plus C. It's a straight line. Okay. So in economics, you might be dealing with some sort of production function, or you could be dealing with maybe a cost curve or a linear cost function, and they're asking you to work out the expected cost or work out the expected production. In finance, it's actually more simple than that. In finance, we often are given a linear combination of assets which we invest in that we call a portfolio. And quite a few times, I work out the on the. For example, suppose I said that you invested 40% of your money into stock A, which y, what is the expected return on the portfolio? Really what I'm asking you to do is this. The expected return of 0.4x plus 0.6y. Based off this, we can break this down and say, well, it's the expected value of 0.4x plus the expected value of 0.6y. And we can even further simplify it by saying, well, 0.4 times so if you were working out the expected return on a portfolio that has 40% in X, 6% in Y, really, all you do is take 40% of the expected return on X, return on Y. So you can see how this is going to be quite useful. Even last week, we went through a calculation where I said it was 10x minus 5 or whatever it was, right? We didn't have to go through all the summation. Because we knew what the expected value of X was, we could have just simply broken it down and worked it out this way. It would have saved us a lot of time. The variance is very much, or the properties with variance is very much like the properties with expected values. So, for example, the variance of a constant. What is the variance of a constant? Well, it turns out the variance of a constant is 0. It's everything the same. There's a couple ways you can think about this. Variance was like how surprised you are. So again, imagine we had a dice and it only had the number 6. I roll it behind my be surprised when you look at the outcome. No, it's no surprise. You know what it's going to be. It only can be the number 6. So you won't be surprised. Another way you can think about it is a constant, by definition, is something that does not change. If something does not change, it doesn't have variability. And if it doesn't have variability, there's no variance. Something that doesn't fluctuate has no variance. Make sure it's recording. Okay. If I wanted to have the variance of, let's say, some constant times a random variable, what I can do again, what I can do is I can take the number outside of the variance bracket I'm allowed to take the number outside of the variance bracket, but if I do that, I just have to remember to square it. I won't try to delve too deeply about why we square it. Just mathematically, when you pull out a number out of the variance equation, it gets squared. The last thing, so as an example, this is actually a very good example because people get this one wrong. Example. Suppose I ask you to work out the variance of negative 5x. Okay. What would it look like? Well, 5 squared is 25. A lot of people write this. A lot of people write this. Why is this wrong? Okay, so firstly, negative times a negative is a positive, but how do we know it's wrong? And why would you get straight away 0 for it? Because you can't have a negative variance. That number will be a negative number, and you will not have a negative variance. So straight away, we know that this could have been negative 5 squared, which is going to be positive 25 when you take it out. If you don't do that, what ends up happening is when you work through the equation, you get a negative number or a very small number. Alright, so a lot of students make that mistake. The last part is very similar to how we have a linear function with expected values, but now we want to do the same thing with variance. So what is the variance of, let's say, a function like this? We see a plus or minus in this variance bracket. We are allowed to split this apart. So we could write this as the variance of AX plus the variance of BY. But here's the catch. This is the part that differs. You also need to add in 2 times A times B times, how do I get this out? Times the covariance of X and Y. It's a little bit lengthy. It looks a little bit lengthy. So I'll give you an example. Where, by the way, you probably would use this a lot more in finance than you would in economics. I mean, I can see uses for it in economics, but more often than not, you ask things like, or you'll use this in areas like, I would like you to work out the risk of a portfolio of assets. Right? So what they're really asking you to do is work out the variance of an equation and to break it apart. For example, suppose we had variance of 0.4x plus 0.6y, and we wanted to work out the variance of the entire thing. We can split it apart, and it would look like this: 0.4x plus 0.6y. 2 times 0.4 times 0.6 times covariance. So in maybe a third year finance course, if you are studying finance, they'll ask you to calculate the variance of a portfolio, and you'll do it like this, and they'll try to examine what happens when the covariance increases or decreases between assets, paired assets. And they try to observe what happens to the overall portfolio's risk. So if covariance increases, what happens to the overall risk? It should be very obvious in this process. As covariance increases, variance increases. Okay. So that pretty much catches us up with all the expected value variance properties. Now we can actually start moving on to some other material. So this week in lab, we're going to be talking about regression analysis. We'll get to that in a moment. Alright, so if everyone's downloaded this in Excel, typically what you'd be asked to do on assignment, first thing, with your assignment, most likely you're not going to be asked to collect data. Usually we'll give you the data. It's easier that way, right? So that's the good news. And in the past trimesters, we've always asked things, or the very first question asked, provide some statistics on, right? Remember, I told you a couple of weeks back that the role of the statistician or econometrician is to tell a story, if you will. So you could go through and work out averages, like the expected values, the variances. You could do it manually, but it will take you forever, because we might give you like 20 variables. If you're doing it by hand, it will take too long. The faster way of doing this is if you actually use an add-in or a toolkit. So I'm going to show you how to use it or install it. So I'm going to do this twice, okay? I need you to click on File for me. And then I need you to go down to Options. On the left-hand side, I need you to click on Add-in. And then down the bottom, there's a button that says Go. Just press the Go button. box will come up, and you want to make sure that analysis toolpath is ticked. If yours is already ticked, just leave it. If not, tick it, and then just press OK. So I'll do that again. File, Options, Add in, press the little Go button, make sure the box is ticked, and then we press OK. To make sure you've done it correctly, you need to click onto the data ribbon, and you'll see the top right corner with a button that says Data Analysis. Again, I'll do it again. Data up top, and in the top right corner, Data Analysis. So just click on that button. So, if you forget how to do this, I am going to post a recording. The lab instructor also shows you how to do it as well. Your entire assignment starts through that one button. Okay? So if you don't know how to get stuck, you're in trouble. There are instructions on how to do it. There are there's going to be a video posted up there as well. So you'll be able to learn how to do it. So we want descriptive statistics. We're going to highlight descriptive statistics. That's okay. And then it will ask us simply select our data, which is easy enough. So if I only wanted one variable, I would select one variable. If I wanted the summary statistics on more than one variable, I would just select and highlight all of my variables. Okay. You need to make sure that you tick. So, because I had the heading, you need to tick labels in first row. If you don't select headings, don't tick this box. Your numbers will be off a little bit. You tick it and you didn't select the heading. You need to tick summary statistics, and then you press OK. It will generate some tables for you, and this pretty much is the first part of your assignment, at least last year's assignment. Right? Last year's assignment asked you to generate some summary statistics on some data that was provided, and it was worth 2 marks out of 30 if you just did that. Yeah. Almost 10%. Right? Obviously, there's going to be some discussion that you need to write down as well. So you're going to explain what the numbers mean. I'm not going to go through it with you because that's really up to you to do some research and reading into it. But explain what the mean, standard deviation, skewness, proposed variance, all that stuff means. One thing, please do not do this when you start writing out the assignment. We get this a lot, and students often get 0 for it. Students will often write the mean advertising price was $2.22. The median was $2.30. The mode was $1.30. The standard deviation, the sample variance is 0.563. That is not analysis. What you're doing there is just converting the table into a form. Okay? You don't get any marks for that. It's great that you know how to read and write into a sentence, but obviously at secondary university, it's not going to get you any marks. You need to explain what does the standard deviation 0.75 actually mean? How would you use it? What do we mean by a mean of 2.22? Again, how is that useful? How does that build a story? All right, so that part there is literally the first question on the assignment. Now, what we'd like to do now is start talking about regression analysis. It's about this time of the trimester where students start struggling in lectures. Just a show of hands, who's still going to lectures? 1, 2, 3, 4, hopefully a bit more, maybe 5 or 6. Part of the reason why students stop going to lectures isn't because, I think anyway, isn't because they're lazy. Part of the reason I think is because this week in particular, the content spikes in difficulty, and it's very hard to understand what's going on because it's very abstract. There aren't that many numbers to solve, and things have become more abstract as the weeks progress. I'm I'm going to try to explain what we're talking about in lectures, and hopefully it does help you. At the end of the day, though, if it still doesn't help, you do need to read the textbook a little bit. Okay. All right. So, in the very first week, exercises, we do some exercises that look at what sort of statistics can I do with one variable like X. I don't know whether a mean, a variance, and so forth. Then we said, well, let's introduce another variable. Let's call it Y, and let's see what else we could calculate. So last week we talked about covariance and correlation. Covariance and correlations in particular are very useful. It's very nice. We want to know the relationship between these variables. Relationships allow us to, well, make the story much more interesting. I don't want to know what the average price in Australia is. I want to know how perhaps the US markets are correlated to the Australian stock market. Right? Or perhaps I want to know how strongly related interest rates are to inflation or unemployment. Because then I could adjust monthly or fiscal policy accordingly. The problem with correlations is that there is no cause. We don't know what causes it and what the effects are. We would like to figure out cause and effect behind things. So to figure out cause and effect, we need to turn to something called regression analysis. So with regression analysis, what we're asking is, suppose we have some variable that we're interested in, say Y, and we would like to know how another variable might influence, like X. To be more precise, we need to give it some sort of functional form, and the most basic one we know of is a linear function. So this is your intercept. Right? It's like C, this is M, like your slope, and you've got Y and X. So this is a straight line function, a linear function. Okay? Now, to keep in line with your lecture notes a little bit, I know you like using income testing and the number of hours you study, so let's stick to that example. Suppose that Brian, suppose you study 10 hours in your test. Okay? Brian studied 10 hours for his midterm test. Now, suppose that I studied 10 hours for your midterm test, and we both took the same test. Would we get the same score? Why not? What else would make differences between me and Brian? Do you think we would get the same score? No, we would get the same score. So if I experience what else? Sorry? Abilities to differ. It doesn't hurt that I know what your test looks like as well. I sort of write the test as well. But there's a myriad of reasons why there will be differences. And so what ends up happening is you'll notice we have to add in this little extra term. This is called the error term. Okay? So I'm going to write this out. The U is called the error term and is a conceptual construct. Okay. We cannot calculate it. There is no number. And think about it. In order for us to really figure out what the midterm test scores would be, you would have to figure out how productive you were in the 10 hours of study, what sort of the environment was it quiet, were there any distractions, what you did in your prior weeks of study, how you performed mathematically in high school, your primary school education. There's a lot of factors that come into play, even genetics, some people might argue. Right? There is no way we will be able to give this a number. Don't ever give this a number. If we ever see you give this a number, it's going to be a straight flat zero. You can't calculate the error term. It's a concept. The problem is this. Because we can't calculate the error term, you can't possibly calculate the intercept. If we can't calculate the intercept, you can't calculate the slope. Okay? That's a big problem. It means we can't calculate anything. So I'm just going to write out some notation for you because it's we need to know some notation. Y is what you would call the dependent variable. X is what you would call the right-hand side variable. Is called either you call it the independent or explanatory variable. Either one, it doesn't matter which one you use, same thing. Beta naught is called the population intercept. Beta 1 is called the population slope. And we've got all 5 pieces. This entire thing here is called the population regression function. All right, so going back to what we were saying, we don't know, or we don't know what the population intercept and the population slopes are. We would love to figure this out, though. I can figure out things like, well, if I adjust interest rates, what is the true effect on unemployment? Right? Or if the US stock market goes up yesterday, what is Australia's stock market reaction going to be like today? These are very interesting questions. We can also look at theories and proving theories. So we can use regression analysis to look at, I don't know, a Cobb-Douglas production function, right, and see whether or not it holds in practice. We could look at the capital asset pricing model and see whether or not it holds in practice. Doesn't. Both of them. So, what do we do when we don't know something about the population again? We take samples. Right? If I don't know something about the population, I'm going to look towards a sample regression function. And I'm going to hope that my sample regression function can tell me something about the population. This is what the sample regression function looks like. Y hat equals beta naught hat, beta hat naught plus beta 1. Notice there is no error here. There is no error term here. Please don't put in an error term. If you put this in, let me highlight this, make this nice and red. If we see you put this in the exam, that's minus 0.5 marks each time. Okay. Each time you put that error term into your sample regression function, you lose half a mark. It adds up very quickly. And that's not me doing it. I've tried to say that, oh, it's fine, it's seems to remember the notation that well, but it's just something that previous unit says have always implemented. We always take off half of that. All right, so you'll notice there is no error term, and you'll notice there's a hat on top of things. The hat signifies it's the estimated value of y. Right? Beta naught hat is the estimated intercept, and of course, beta 1 hat is the estimated slope. And it's x is just x still. We don't have a hat in here. So the good thing here is we don't have an error term, so we could calculate the intercept and slope. Well, there are many methods we can use to calculate the estimated intercept and slope. Many methods. Many methods. That's it. Many methods. One such method is called ordinary least squares, or LLS short. So in this course in particular, we're going to focus a lot on ordinary least squares, but it's not the only method we'll look at. We'll also have to look a little bit at generalized these squares as well. Later on, if you were to go on with econometrics in third year, you might look at other models like generalized index moments and so on. Right. Now, how ordinary squares work is probably a discussion for another lesson. But for now, what we need to know is that ordinary squares provides us with a formula. And the formulas look like this. You don't need to write these ones out, by the way. I should point out, you don't need to remember the formulas. They're provided to you on your formula sheet in the final exam. Oh, this formula anyway is. There's that formula, and this formula hopefully looks a little bit familiar because we actually went through all of the different components in week 2 when we did the summation stuff. You probably didn't notice it. So if you look back over your week 2 seminar questions and solutions, you'll find that we actually worked this out already. There's another version of this. You could also work it out this way. Let me write it out first before I make a mistake. And then I'll explain it. Either formula will get you the exact same answer. You can use either one, and it doesn't matter which one you use. It's completely up to you, preference-wise. Whichever you feel more comfortable with, stick with it. We'll be going through a lot of these calculations over the next few weeks. So by the time you take your course, your exam, you would have done this calculation at least 10 times. Different sets of numbers. Most students in the exam score full marks on this part. We'll always ask you to calculate the slope and intercept. Most students score full marks. Some students might lose like a few marks here and there because of silly mistakes, adding up numbers. So most of the time they'll get the full mark. And the students who get abysmal marks for this section tend to be the ones that don't get a pass. Again, how do we calculate the slope, the intercept? The intercept formula is actually very easy. It looks easier. It's just that. You'll notice that in order to calculate the intercept, you need to calculate the slope first. Y bar is the average of y, x bar is the average of x. So this is what you see on the formula sheet, by the way, these formulas. Again, you don't need to remember them. We're going to try and do this one today, just because, I don't know, I could have picked this one, but let's just do this one. From week to week, I'll just change it back and forth. Right, so n is pretty easy. N is the sample size. There are a total of 15 observations there. So we'll know n is 15. Right, 15. Now, what we need to do also is work out different sums. Just to preface this a little bit more, we want scales to be the left-hand side. Theta 0 plus theta 1 twice plus theta 1. Notice that this is my population regression function. It has an error term. It doesn't have that. So I'm allowed to write the error term again. Alright, so my x variable would be price, column B. My y variable would be sales, column D. So notice I need to add up all of the values of x. Straightforward enough. Equals sum. I'll simply just add up. I'm going to add up all these numbers, and it works out to be 87.52. I need to work out the sum of y, And the sum of y is going to be, again, we're going to add up equals sum all of the values of y, close your bracket. It works out to be 1,159. So you don't have to calculate this with me, by the way. You're not going to do it this way when it comes to your assignment. I'm just trying to show you how to use the formula. Now, notice here that we need to calculate the sum of x times y. Right? There is a function in Excel called plot sum, but it's probably easier if I do it this way. I'm going to make a new column called x times y, and I'll simply multiply the values of x and y for each and every single row. And then if I add up this column, I get a number. That number is 6729.56. On the bottom here, we need the sum of x squared. Again, I would create a new column, call it x squared. And here, I would take the value of x and I would square it. I would square each value of x, and then I would add them up. And I get 514. Lastly, the sum of x, we worked it out before, it was 87.53, so we just share that last number. And this might look very tedious, but if you've got up to there, you've got most of the marks already. Right? The next step is getting 1 mark at 60 on the exam. The next step really is you know how to put it into a calculator and punch it on a calculator. I mean, if you have to do it by hand, it's very hard, but with a calculator, you put the option. I'm not going to work out the number because, again, we're going to go through more calculations on this by hand next week and the week afterwards. We don't need these ones. For us today, though, we want to take advantage of the computer. So what we'll do is we'll go to data analysis. Something called regression. Regression. I'm going to select my y variable. Okay. I'm going to select my x variable. I'm going to tick labels because I have the headings in there, and then I just press OK. So I'll do that again, zoom down, so you can all see it. Data analysis, regression, select my y variable, okay. Select my x variable, tick labels because I have the headings there, and then I just press OK. What you get is an output that looks like this. So here, this is your estimated intercept. This would be your estimated slope. If you had plugged in the numbers into those two formulas I showed you before, you would have gotten these two values. Just while we're on the screen as well, trying to make it into one screen. Everything I've left on this screen here, by the time of, by around week 7 or week 8, you should be able to understand all those numbers and what they mean. In fact, leading up to week 8, we are just focusing on these numbers here. So we'll be talking about hypothesis testing, what a p-value means, F-statistic test, R-squared, standard errors, sum of squared residuals, the whole works. Most of your assignment will be just running regression. So I would say 75% of the calculations you need to do are basically done through doing either this, regression output, or doing descriptive stat tables. The other 25%, they're hypothesis testing, so it's not really calculation much. They're not difficult calculations. So yeah, that's basically 75% of your assignment done in terms of calculation. You obviously still have to type it up, hopefully are going to keep doing from your assignment. I should point out one other thing as well. What we've been doing so far is, or what I've been explaining to you, is something called a simple regression model. It's simple not because it's easy, but because it's simple in nature to assume one variable influences another directly. Quite often, multiple variables will influence one variable. So, for example, if I wanted to have two variables on the right-hand side of the equation, two x variables, then I could select them both like this. So I can do this on a computer as well. So I get my y variable stays the same. It's still sales. Okay. My y variable is still sales. My x variable this time, however, if you want to run a multiple regression, you have to select all of the variables at the same time. So if you wanted three variables, select all of the data, and then press OK. And that will give you an output that looks like this. So there's the intercept, there's the slope on the first variable, the slope on the second variable, and the slope on the third variable. In terms of interpretation, what you need to say is, to interpret the numbers, what you'd say is, well, every time you increase advertising by $1,000, sales is expected to be $1,000, $6,200. This makes sense. As I spend more on advertising, I generate more sales. Price. If I increase price by $1 in my product, I would expect sales to drop by $5,089. Now, this is not profit, sales. So it makes sense that as I increase price points, I sell less product. Doesn't necessarily mean I make less profit, but I just make less sales. So that makes sense as well. So that's the general idea of what you'd be expected to do in terms of the assignment and interpretation. What does the numbers mean? How would you interpret it? How would you make it relevant to the example at hand? What else do I need to tell you? Any questions, by the way? I'm speeding through it. Are we all okay at running regression? Yeah. Right. So really quickly, you don't have to do this on the computer. Just watch what I'm doing. That's fine. So I can work out intercept and slope. Okay? Okay, I'll copy this over so you can see it. I can work out the estimated intercept and I can work out the estimated slope. One of the nice about regression analysis is that we can use it to make predictions and forecasts. So in finance, you might make predictions on cash flows, free cash flows, producing out free cash flows, discounting them back in order to work out your term value. Okay? In economics, economists are always trying to predict economic growth or economic conditions. So in this example here, given that we have these estimated values, we're going to try to predict sales. So what do I mean by that? So this was my population regression function. This here this would be my estimated this would be my estimation equation or my estimated sample regression function. So, for example, if you told me a price, I could tell you what sales roughly is. If you told me the price is $10, I could do 10 times 9.41 minus that number. I can get sales, an estimation of sales. So we can try that. So if you told me the price was $10, we could start plug it into the formula, and we could work out sales very easily using a pen calculator, handheld calculator. What's more interesting, though, is anytime you've given a prediction, what's the one thing you'd like to know about? If I told you tomorrow the stock market will go up by 50%, would you go and put your money in the stock market tomorrow? No, you wouldn't? Fine, you wouldn't put your money in? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe. What's holding you back, though? Sorry? I'm just saying tomorrow morning, as soon as the market's open, it will be 50% higher. So if you buy it right now, it will be higher tomorrow. Would you trust me on that? Would you invest your money on it? You would? You're a fool. Why would you trust me? I'm just saying it, right? Don't go put your money in the market yet. So what you'd like to know is, well, how valid or accurate is this person's prediction, right? I mean, if you went to a fortune teller and they said, oh, in 6 months' time, you're going to get a growth in access, right? What about how accurate that person's forecast and predictions are? So we'd like some measure of forecast accuracy. I'm going to leave you with this last one. How we could do it is we could wait and see what actually happens. We take what actually happens, and we're going to subtract away what we predicted might happen. So, for example, I put in $10 price. I could work out a prediction for sales, right? And then I could also wait and see what happens in real life when the price is $10 and take the difference in my sales record. That would be a way of telling whether or not how accurate a forecast or model is. So what I was saying was, for example, I put in the price of, I'm just going to make up the number, $5.69. We could work this out. 132.17 minus 9.41 times 5.69, it gives me $78,627. Now, we wait and observe what happens. Notice, I use 5.69. If the price was 5.69, we expected it to be 78,000. It turned out to be 73,000. We were a little bit off. The bigger this number is, the worse my predictions are. I calculated, so I can look at the difference between these two numbers and work out some sort of prediction error. To be more precise with the terminology, this is what we're going to call the residual term. Notice that I didn't call this the error term because this is a U with a little hat on it. This one, we could calculate. This one, with U up top, we can't calculate. We cannot calculate an error term. We can calculate a residual term. Okay. We can use the residual term as a way to measure forecast accuracy or how good my model is. The smaller my forecast errors are, the better my model is. Yeah? If my model was 100% perfect, you would have 0 forecasting error. Okay? We still following? So I'm going to try to calculate this out for you. So these are my predictions, if you will. These okay. Now I'm also going to work out the residual, which is U hat, where I take the difference between what I observed and what happened. Now, this is the most interesting part here. Let's see what happens. If I add all these numbers up, these are all my prediction errors. Watch and see what happens when I add this all up. That's pretty cool. You get a 0. Why? You know why we get 0? That number, by the way, is negative 4. That's what the number looks like. A billion has 9 zeros. If this has 13 zeros in it, that's smaller than a billion of the decimal place. Right? For all intents and purposes, if you're rounding, that is 0. Okay? What that tells us is the sum of my prediction errors. That means that my model is perfect. If you explain that to someone, that's what they'll believe, right? The sum of your prediction errors is 0. Model must be perfect. But it's not. Well, no, what's happening is because the positives and negative errors, sometimes I overpredict something, sometimes I underpredict it, and they're cancelling out. They should be cancelling out. They should be additive. They should be adding the errors together rather than cancelling them out, right? So, for example, today I guess that your profit would be $10,000, it was $15,000. Tomorrow, that's an error of 5,000. Tomorrow I guess that your profit would be $30,000 and it turned out 20,000. That's an error of 10,000. My $5,000 difference. So, as I am saying, what we can do is we can square these numbers. Now we've put these numbers and we've added them up. This has a very unique name. This is called the sum of squared residuals. This guy has a very unique name, and it's actually very important to today's lesson. We're going to go through and calculate this later on in the course as well. But the reason why this is so important is because this is how ordinary least squares work. Ordinary least squares fix for you or provides you with a formula such that it minimizes the total possible sum of squared residuals. Hence why we give it the name least squares. It's the least sum of squared residuals you can possibly get. No other combination of values for beta 1, beta 0, and beta 1, no other numbers will get you a smaller sum of squared residuals. Now, the reason why I want to show you is since we're in the lab, it's nice and handy. We're going to try this out really quickly. So I've done it in such a way that all the formulas will automatically update, and we can play around with it. And that number, remember it, 307. What number is it? I can change